Slave owners kept their slaves uneducated so they would remain content in their enslavement. Today, everything is racist, from our history to speaking proper English and writing proper English to math. So, not only have black students been taught everything that gives them an advantage is racist, now white students are indoctrinated to believe that too. Our children are being systematically taught to be slaves. Are you going to do anything about it, patriots? Rosie the Riveter here, dropping more truth bombs to destroy fake news and propaganda. Before we get started, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Doing so really does help share the truth with more people. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well to get new videos when they are uploaded. Now let's get into today's riveting topic. As I discussed in my first video of this series, Debunking CRT and the 1619 Project, I revealed how it was actually indentured servitude that started in this country. Not until a former servant, Anthony Johnson from Africa, sued and became the first official slave owner did the appalling institution take hold in America. As I stated before, when indentured servants first came to this country in the 1600s, their servitude ended after 7 years. They left with money, clothes, food, land, a skill, and most importantly, an education, because it was expected they would become productive citizens, contributing to society and taking care of themselves. Even after slavery took hold, slaves retained many freedoms, but those quickly started disappearing, especially in response to slave rebellions, including preventing them from being educated. These laws were especially supported by the Democratic Party once it was formed in the late 1820s. Efforts continued after the Civil War to systematically enslave the black population, known as Jim Crow laws, and those radical ideas are continuing today under the umbrella of equity. On September 9th, 1739, a group of 20 slaves educated in their homeland of Africa decided to rebel and head 200 miles south to Spanish Florida, where they were promised freedom. As they made their way from Stono River in St. Paul, South Carolina, they left a trail of death and destruction, killing any white person they came across regardless of age or gender. They also accumulated more slave participants, both by choice and by force. By late afternoon, the group had swollen to between 60 to 100 people strong. When they took a moment to rest, a militia caught up with them. Shots were fired from the rebels, and the militia returned fire, killing 12, while the rebels killed about 20 militia people. Within a few hours, roughly 15 more slaves were taken down, with at least another 30 escaping. Over the next month, most of those slaves were captured and executed. All but one were eventually caught within 6 months. Any slave believed to have been forcibly part of the rebel group was spared their life. Slaves who helped to try to stop or try to capture a rebel was rewarded, some even with freedom. As a result of the Stono Rebellion, Southern slave owners aggressively passed laws removing many rights slaves had up until that point. Almost 100 years later, Nat Turner organized his own rebellion that started on August 21st, 1831. The details are very similar to the Stono Rebellion, but this time many of the innocent slaves taken into the rebellion were caught and killed in all the chaos. And just like Stono's rebellion, more laws were enacted restricting slave rights, including education. In 2016, woke Hollywood made a glowing movie about Turner's rebellion called The Birth of a Nation, taking its name from another complete rewrite of history. Using the writings of Woodrow Wilson, the original movie glorifies the KKK as the saviors of the South after the Civil War. You can't make this stuff up, folks. However, the new version glorified rebellion and violence against the white man. 4 years later, in 2020, we had the Summer of Love where cities burned for months. Coincidence? When Frederick Douglass was growing up, the matriarch in the home where he lived taught him the alphabet and how to read using the Bible. Her husband continued to reprimand her until she finally stopped teaching him. But Frederick had already learned the importance of education and how it related to freedom. He often used his lunch as payment to local white kids who would teach him their lessons for the day. Standing strong on education, Douglass made it all the way to the White House on an invitation to President Lincoln during slave time. So why did we go from understanding the fundamental importance of educating indentured servants to preventing any form of education of slaves? Because the servants were expected to be freed. They didn't want the slaves having that same confidence. They wanted to keep the slaves limited so they would believe they needed to be taken care of, and so they wouldn't seek to be freed from their bondage at all. The best way to keep a person enslaved is to keep him uneducated. So let's fast forward to today, where we are told math is racist, speaking good English is racist, seeking knowledge and good grades is racist, having a good job is racist, punishing criminals is racist, trying to prevent people from becoming entrapped on the government plantation is racist, having a family is racist, having and raising your children is racist, being respectable is racist, accurately describing a suspect is racist, and pretty much any form of taking responsibility for your actions and life is racist. Anyone who pushes for these things is a white supremacist trying to keep the black man down. This is today's woke agenda, ladies and gentlemen. If you are educated in today's public school system, I'm sure this makes total sense to you. However, if you exercise even one of the thousands of brain cells God gave you, you know this is all Marxist, authoritarian, Bolshevik, perpetrated by the Democratic Party and woke elitists who are primarily white, I might add, running our education system. Even Don Lemon, before he was completely sucked into the wokeness propaganda, agreed.
Finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids are acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money.
CRT and the 1619 Project are dumbing down all Americans, just like the slave owners did. But this time it's worse. Too many of us are willfully going along with it without any pushback, accepting their horrible rewrites of history and refusing to do our own homework out of fear of being called racist and white supremacists. These woke agendas won't tell you that slaves were often allowed to work for their own money. In fact, some purchased their own freedom. They don't want you to know about these liberty-loving slaves because they don't fit in to the victimhood mentality and racism agenda. When wokies mention the rebellions, it is with glory and praise, indoctrinating today's youth that violence and death is the way to respond to oppression, and are justified in doing so, instead of Booker T. Washington's solution of education and working harder than the oppressors so no one can overlook you. Make them accept that you are their equal instead of demanding all standards be lowered to achieve equity. If you want to see evidence of this black on white violence, just hop on Twitter or TikTok. The videos are everywhere and they are actually quite disturbing. But why would the elitists want this violence? Because just like the slave owners, it gives them justification to clamp down even harder on the people in efforts to cement their enslavement. Their goal is to get such chaos that people will demand the government invoke martial law. The reality is, Disney Plus, Hollywood, the music industry, government, and our schools are going to keep shoving this junk down our throats as long as we let them. So why are we letting them, patriots? If you love your children, get them out of public schools. Stop supporting Disney Plus, Netflix, and other woke channels, and refuse to remain silent. If you just aren't able to take them out of public schools, and I understand many of you are in that situation, then do everything you can to find the time to address your school board repeatedly until they get rid of this Marxist propaganda. And don't think just because you talk to them once, they will listen and eliminate it. There is way too much money to be made here, so you need to hound them over and over and over again. Check your kids' schoolwork and make sure they are not being brainwashed. Then be a boil on the school board's butt until they stop this nonsense. I'm Rosie the Riveter, and that's my 2 cents. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Make no mistake, we are in an information war, and our weapon is truth. Find it. If you don't know where to begin, start at thefactspaper.com, where I have links to thousands of articles sharing the truth the fake news and propagandists won't, including those noted in this video. Investigate and discover the truth for yourself. The fight is tough and the fight is hard, but we are winning. The light of truth will destroy the evils of darkness. Come on, patriots. We